Shalom! Thanks for being with us on the 5th Annual Temple Mount Awareness Day. Yitzchak, here we are in the Temple Institute's Holy Temple Visitor Center, and I remember last year, on the 4th Annual Temple Mount Awareness Day, we were just getting ready to open this new location, and we gave kind of a sneak preview. There wasn't all that much that was ready yet. It's hard to believe that a year has gone by, and in that year, I think probably close to 100,000 visitors have already been here to the Temple Institute's new location. It's very, very beautiful, really remarkable privilege to be here. And the difference really in the new location is, first of all, of course, we hope this is our last stop until we relocate finally on Mount Moriah, on the Temple Mount. But the experience here that visitors have when they come to the Temple Institute's exhibition to see the things that are being prepared for the Holy Temple and to learn of the research and the knowledge and the science involved in preparing, the experience here is designed to give a person a little bit of a taste of visiting the Holy Temple, because the rooms are arranged parallel to the chambers in the Holy Temple. So that, for example, this room that we are beginning in, first room is really kind of like parallel to the outer court of the Temple Mount. And visitors come, and actually a visit here to the Holy Temple Visitor Center takes a full hour, and in that full hour we try to cram 2,000 years of history, and it's an opportunity for us to really engage people from all walks of life, from all over the world, in not only the ideas about the Holy Temple and what it represents and why it's so necessary and what it brings to the world, both to the Jewish people and all humanity, but also to really engage in a dialogue about the far-reaching matters that are the most pivotal and core essential ideas for humanity, ideas about God and our relationship with Him and the universe and everything that intersects with the world of the Holy Temple. So it's really a tremendous opportunity for learning and spiritual growth. But like I say, it takes a full hour, but in a couple of minutes, let's just take a little bit of a peek at what can be experienced here. Again, it's not only a question of the vessels that are being prepared in painstaking accuracy with tremendous commitment to detail and Jewish law for the purpose of use in the Holy Temple, which of course is actually considered like the first stage of building the temple itself. It's also an opportunity to learn of the huge amounts of scholarship and research and technological advancement and all the different applied sciences that are being investigated and that are being collated for the purpose of the reactivation and restoration of all the commandments of the Torah that are applied to the Holy Temple. So let's take a little walk. Here we are in the first room when we talk about the relationship between the Holy Temple and the Temple Mount, the location of the temple, and the significance of that place throughout history for all mankind. We talk about what the temple is altogether, who needs it, what is it all about, and we explode a lot of myths about the temple, that it's not, that we're not talking here about a building or about architecture, that we're talking about a concept of the elevation of all of human experience to a sense of divine purpose. This is the room where we're really able to illustrate the relationship between science and Torah, because there's a lot of research into the mitzvot, the commandments of the Holy Temple, that we really need to do a lot of scientific study for. As an example, we have the whole concept of the identification of the colors that are used in the priestly garments and in the temple weavings, the blue and the crimson and the scarlet that are the subject of much scientific research and debate as far as the final and conclusive identification of the sources of these dyes, which were either lost throughout history as a result of the diaspora or deliberately concealed in some cases. And so there's a tremendous amount of biblical sleuthing and scientific research that has to be used. And in recent years, there's been a lot of progress, for example, with the identification of the tchelet, the sky blue dye that is used not only in the biblical tzitzits, in the fringes, but also in the blue robe of the high priest. We see here the blue robe with the 72 woven pomegranates and golden bells. One of the most fascinating aspects of temple research for the scholars of the Temple Institute was the final and conclusive identification of the 12 stones of the breastplate, the choshen, very important part of the garments, the golden garments they're called, of the high priest, the choshen breastplate that is worn over the heart of the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. The names of these stones as described in the book of Exodus, in Parshat Tetzaveh, their names are very elusive and they're very, very difficult to identify. They're not common words that the Torah uses. And this one aspect of research, which by the way is a tremendous mystery today to biblical scholars because there are so many opinions. Actually, we counted more than 30 different opinions as to how to approach the classification and the identification of these gems. But after over a decade, 11 years of research, the scholars of the Temple Institute did determine the identification of the stones, and then there's the whole concept of how the names of the tribes are engraved on the stones, and how that was done in the time of the first temple through the agency of a certain animal whose identity also again was lost, and how we did that today with laser technology, thus accomplishing the same goal of the Torah's principle that the stones are not supposed to be engraved with metal, with the agency of metal. So every detail here is so amazing because for so many years, all of these commandments were thought of as being either dormant or, irrelevant, or just something that, its time has passed. And so the fact that in this generation we could see such a restoration of such an important, integral, central part of the Torah, it just shows the eternity, not only of the Torah, but of the Jewish people, and of their connection to the deep spiritual underpinnings of what our identity is in this world. Because the concept of the Holy Temple, this is all fine. It's beautiful to be dedicated, to do research, to reactivate the mitzvot, but that's not even what it's all about. What it's really all about is taking our role seriously as the people who are responsible to bring the knowledge of God to all humanity so that the world could really live as one in harmony, which is what the Holy Temple really represents. And so through these mitzvot and through the commitment of restoring the temple and rebuilding the temple, it's really, what it really is it's a commitment that the Jewish people have to the human race, to help, to do our part, to just get back to what Hashem's plan really was for the family of man. That's really what it's all about.
So all the things in this second room of the exhibition represent implements and articles that were in the inner courtyard.
Exactly. We're kind of moving into the Azara, into the court of the temple, in the environs of the altar itself. And of course, we would see the great gate of the sanctuary itself leading into the Kodesh, leading into the sanctified part of the temple itself, the Heichal. And above the great gate of the sanctuary hung a lamp, a special golden lamp that the sources of Jewish tradition tell us was donated by a righteous convert to Judaism, a Gentile queen named Helena, Queen Helena, who embraced Torah and the Jewish faith, moved to Jerusalem, and she donated a beautiful golden lamp. And it was hung high above the entrance to the sanctuary. And because the Holy Temple stood elevated above the city, there's a beautiful tradition that when the sun began to rise over the horizon and it reached a certain height, the rays of the sun would hit this golden orb and they would kind of like spark out over the whole city. It was like a dazzling effect, and everyone in Jerusalem, say our sages, knew that it was the time had come to recite the morning Shema. Mm-hmm. So this gives us kind of an idea of moving yet further into the sacred environs of the Holy Temple. Again, we're doing this in a very kind of bird's eye way, mm-hmm. But when a group comes to the Temple Institute, we really get to spend a lot of quality time in talking about these incredible concepts. Questions that people have had for many, many years are answered, and it becomes a really tremendous learning experience. And most importantly, it becomes an opportunity for people to really get in touch with, on a deeper level, with what's missing from the world without the Holy Temple. So hopefully, in the presence of the vessels and in the presence of this kind of effort, it becomes like a catalyst for a person to really feel, you know, we've been praying for this for 2,000 years. Why? What is it really all about? Is it really going to happen? Is it really something that I want to see happen? And it becomes an opportunity to really begin to understand the significance of the Holy Temple in the life of mankind.
Temple Institute's Holy Temple Visitor Center. What a place to visit. So many fascinating things there. We only touched on a few things, but there's so much there, so much knowledge and so much inspiration, and really also you really understand the efforts that goes into every implement that's on display there. Every implement that, of course, is ready for use in the rebuilt Holy Temple soon in our day. And it's really a tribute to all the people who have dedicated their lives toward the rebuilding of the Holy Temple.
But the Temple Institute is not only about the preparation of the vessels for the Holy Temple. The Temple Institute is also involved in education, in publications, in every aspect of everything that's involved to facilitate and to precipitate a total spiritual, educational, social revolution towards the time of the Holy Temple. And some of that involves activism, it involves public awareness, and the Temple Institute really has successfully in the past year spearheaded a campaign to highlight and spotlight in the international media the movement towards the rebuilding of the Holy Temple. And in the past year, the story of the struggle for Jewish prayer at the Temple Mount has been covered in the New York Times, in the Los Angeles Times, in an AP piece that went out literally to hundreds of millions of readers, in the London Times.
The Figaro.
Paris 24, I think it's called.
France 24.
France 24, Fox News, CNN, ABC News. And this is so important because these media outlets have all concurred that this is something that's here to stay. We're not dealing with a bunch of what have been previously labeled as fanatics or extremists, but that the desire of the Jewish people to pray on the Temple Mount, and in fact, indeed, to see the rebuilding of the Holy Temple is actually mainstream Judaism. And we're like, hello, that's what we've been saying all along.
And it is our right as human beings, as well as Jews. Freedom of worship, freedom of visiting the holy sites. These are all freedoms that are enshrined in Israeli law and, of course, in any international standard. And I think that the international media that we have met with has latched onto that and seen that as really, you know, a cause for them to champion.
A sincere expression of human dignity. And the the question of the attitude of the media towards the issues involved, prayer on the Temple Mount, Jewish sovereignty on the Temple Mount, and indeed the question of the rebuilding of the Holy Temple, that issue is extremely complex and extremely important. And just as the international department of the Temple Institute has been leading the way in developing this relationship and understanding with the international media, so too here in Israel, there is a revolution in media coverage of the issue of the Temple Mount and the Holy Temple. And that revolution is being led by a very special Israeli journalist, Arnon Segel, who actually comes from a family of journalists who write with, I usually use that word as a pejorative, the word journalist, but he comes from a family of journalists who write with tremendous responsibility and integrity. And he single-handedly really represents a certain spiritual revolution, because what he has accomplished is absolutely amazing. So it's really a great privilege to get to sit with Arnon Segel, and he is going to be speaking in Hebrew. It's easier for him, but don't worry, don't touch that dial. We're going to be providing you with experts, professional simultaneous translation. And don't forget to call 1-800-941-3484 to sponsor this event, the 5th Annual International Temple Mount Awareness Day, and to become a partner in all the holy and sacred work of the Temple Institute. And now, Arnon Segel.